Good evening and welcome to Untitled Chapter. We are so delighted to have you here with us tonight for part 3 of Guide Your Life with Right Thought by Jetsunma, Ahkon, Lhamo. And this teaching was given back in November of 1998. It was a 3-part retreat, and the other 2 parts are up already on YouTube. You can watch them, but you can start with this one if you like, since you're here now. So we will join me now.
There is nothing you're experiencing right now or any time in your life that is not result of previous causes, whatever they were, and you may never know. So what we have to do now is to think of a way to really hold to what the Buddha has taught. Not invent our own religion, not think we got all the answers through our ordinary means, but rather really rely with devotion and faith on the Buddha's teachings. So, if we are still in the mode of acting like a samsaric being, using our 5 senses as our own private little gurus, oh boy, are we in trouble. Using our samsaric instincts and thinking they are good judgment and common sense. Yeah, they're common, all right. Thinking that it's good judgment. If we are still in that samsaric posture, then we're, even as practitioners, we are in very great danger of thinking that we have to accumulate more Dharma stuff in order to be better at Dharma, in order to evolve or make progress on the path. And really, it's not all that different from materialism. It's not all that different from the kind of collecting we do in our lives. Gimme, 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 I wanna, wanna, wanna. Whereas, and so in this life, we look much better. We are dressed like Dharma practitioners. We act like Dharma practitioners. We have Dharma vocabulary. We are getting our Dharma rituals down pat. We're looking good when we do them. And we are learning how to chant, and we are just doing all this stuff. And if you think about it, if you really look at what you're doing to yourself, what you're doing is collecting temporary gratification. If you're operating that way, it may be Dharma, and it may be better than what you were doing before, but it's still the kind of gratification that you want to make you feel more potent, more powerful, more pure, more evolved, more developed. And so we run around saying things like, oh, I took this empowerment and I got this teaching and I accomplished that practice. No, you didn't, not if you said that. No, you didn't, baby, not if you said that, no. I don't think so. Now, if we're looking at the other point of view, if we have gotten some right thinking under the belt and we're really kind of getting there. We're putting a little bit in that pile, and it's starting to weigh a little bit. If we're practicing in that direction, we might be thinking differently. And this is the magic that happens at some point on the path when we move from kids imitating Dharma parents, you know, and actual intelligent, sophisticated, for real, mystical practice of Buddhism. And that's when, having looked at what the Buddha has taught, you think to yourself, whoa, wait a minute. All this stuff I'm going through, and let me think about it. We're talking sickness, we're talking unhappiness, we're talking frustration, we're talking loneliness, we're talking poverty, we're talking I don't have enough, we're talking I don't never get enough, we're talking I'm never happy, we're talking you know, all that stuff. Me, you know, the me of you. So wait a minute, all of this in truth is actually results of causes that I can't even see? You know, if you think about it, none of us is actually equipped to make a really intelligent decision based on our samsaric perspective. How could you? You can only judge by your personal experience, and it's nil, and it's anyway. From the moment you started having it in a neurotic way as a believer in your own self-nature. So go ahead, get another degree. So you're thinking to yourself, so everything that I'm experiencing is the result of causes I engaged in this life and before, since time out of mind. And everything I'm going to holy cow, everything, oh, wait a minute now. Come with me on this, will you? And everything I'm going to experience from this point on is the result. Causes. It's the ripening of more seeds. If you think about satisfying yourself and using Dharma to do it, you'll simply collect Dharma. If you think about what the Buddha has actually taught, and you think to yourself, this is all the result of causes, and that's all I'm ever going to experience, is the result of causes that I have created, it makes sense to get busy in a different way. Studying on that, internalizing this kind of right thinking the way the Buddha thinks in all the Buddha's wisdom. In that state of pure recognition, the Buddha gives you the advice that he gives you with path, the method, based on what he knows about you. You make decisions regarding similar issues based on what you don't know about you. Try to understand that. That is so important. So sometimes our best judgment on a human level, on a samsaric level, is our worst friend, our worst enemy. We have to find a way to get past the natural arrogance that we all possess when we think, well, the Buddha may be Buddha, and he may have all that wisdom, and he may know all those cause and effects junctures and all that stuff she's talking about, but he ain't me. And we do have that. We have that arrogance. He doesn't know. Buddha doesn't know. He hasn't walked in my shoes. Didn't have my mother. I would have killed anybody. Didn't have my life. Didn't grow up on welfare. So that's the arrogance that we have in our delusion because we haven't practiced right thought. We haven't bothered to internalize this. We haven't bothered to clear the space in our naturally irate mind that's chewing us up all the time. And we are judging by what it's going to take to make us feel right better now, even if it is Dharma. But that's not what the Buddha taught. The Buddha taught that we must understand our condition. We have to study on it, study on it, study on it, contemplate it again and again. Reason it out, play with it in our heads, try to get it. Just try to get it. Work the sums, you know. The Buddha has taught us that we have to recognize our condition, recognize the condition of samsara, recognize the condition of all sentient beings, taking into account the big picture, and then practice accordingly. Now, from that point of view, you are not as likely to be wanting to collect Dharma baubles, you know? You're not going to be wanting to collect Dharma baubles because you've recognized that that kind of thinking is impermanent. And what looks bright and shiny today is not going to look all that hot tomorrow. It's simply wrong intention, wrong motivation. So instead, if we study on what the Buddha has taught us, we think to ourselves that there's the potential here for me to be in the driver's seat. There's the potential here to get it, to understand that all these causes have been created, that there is limitless potential for any kind of result, because we have had so many causes already born, already created, lying dormant within our mind streams. So that being the case, we really have to think, how can I get my mind to be more spacious? How can I clear the decks? How can I be sure that what I vibrationally draw forth is what I want to live with? Because, don't you get it, no one else has to live with it but you. It's got to be you. You're the one that's going to dance the whole dance. No matter how tight your shoes are, you're going to dance till the end. So, here, in understanding what the Buddha has taught us, our perspective is different. Suddenly now, we understand that we can be in the driver's seat, we can choose, we can make choices about how we negotiate our minds at this time, what our intentions are, what we contemplate, what we think about, what our action is. We can make choices about that and make choices that are in harmony with the kinds of karmic potentials we want to draw forward. Because in order for us to be here in this room, we have to have within our mind stream right now all that it takes to have the leisure to practice, the necessary faculties complete within you, to be able to enter onto the path of the Bodhisattva, to meet with the three precious jewels, to meet with all the causes that ripen the mind. In order to be here listening to this, that potential has to be in there. So you're in the driver's seat. You can choose to bring forward vibrationally, if you will, or magnetically, those non-virtuous, self-cherishing, desire-oriented kinds of karmas, we can bring them forward. We can ripen those seeds simply by remaining in that mind state right now. By doing nothing. That's how. By doing nothing. Which is what we spend most of our lives doing. So, if we know we have the choice, if you know that it is possible to drive, if you have studied the Buddha's teaching and have bothered to contemplate, you can get that the reward is in the intention and the practice itself. It's not in the little that you collect, like when you finally get, I don't know, rich enough and smart enough to have a red coral mala. Hey, they're the best. So that makes me a better practitioner than you, doesn't it? Must be. So now we're thinking differently. Now we're thinking that I can make choices. I can direct this boat, this ship. It has a rudder. I can engage actually directing this. This is why they keep making reference to the ship that crosses the ocean of samsara. This is the one you can steer. And we would be less likely then to waste our time simply engaging in dharmic activity in a superficial or materialistic way in order to feel better about ourselves now, the immediate remedy. Plus, we are understanding that if we have been here, again, as the Buddha has taught, since time out of mind, working on the assumption of self-nature as being inherently real, and it's probably going to take us a long time to get to the other shore. We're talking time out of mind on both sides. Yikes. So we are wondering, shouldn't we act differently than we've ever acted before? Shouldn't our whole way of operating be different? Because there's a sense of knowing that you can drive, knowing that you can steer, suddenly it makes you hungry. If I can steer, I want to be free. If I have the choice, I don't want to suffer like this. If I have a choice and I can create a healthy, stable mind and body for my next life by engaging and by being hungry for virtue, by sucking it up, just like wanting to live a life of virtue, wanting to create these positive causes and ripen the positive causes from our deep past, knowing that we can create a healthy mind, a healthy body, healthy prosperity, a healthy world, a healthy relationships with all others, with all beings, that this is possible, that everything we're seeing that is unhealthy, neurotic, and weird, in all the areas, from prosperity to relationships to everything, are simply results. Doesn't that open up a whole new world, a whole new way of looking at things? It's like it takes morality and virtue out of the realm of should and ought. I mean, that stuff is just theoretical. I don't know what those words mean anyway. It takes it into a much realer format. It's a much realer connection with your world and with your thoughts. Because you know that if you ripen some virtuous karma, and you know it's in there, otherwise you wouldn't be in this room. And if you can continue to practice right thinking, compassion, all these contemplations that the Buddha has offered to us, if we can study on them and really practice them, we can today start drawing forth beneficial karma, and creating new seeds constantly, because everything we do is creating a seed. So we start creating new seeds and we reap result in the future. Now again, because we are a materialistic society, that doesn't seem to motivate us. We think, no, I don't care about the future. Future's later. I'll never get there. This is the eternal present. You're right. In fact, what you're experiencing today is the future. And you didn't worry about it when you created the causes that bring about this either. So at some point, we're going to actually, through contemplating what the Buddha has taught, we're going to kind of wake up and get the meaning and the point of practice. It isn't to stay in the in-group. It isn't to have a weird religion. It isn't so that you can wear funky clothes and be on the Redskins toga party team. But we are practicing because we get that according to the Buddhist teachings, we have potency, we're in the driver's seat. We don't have to keep creating these causes for more suffering. I mean, you can almost get drunk with that idea, can't you? You don't have to do this anymore. Somewhere on the path, in our own way, we each wake up and say, wow, I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to just dance mindlessly. So, to begin to practice Dharma in that way is to begin to make another decision the Buddha has informed us that we need to make, which is to direct all our activity towards answering the concerns and the needs of all sentient beings and ourselves in a non-dual way. So what are the concerns for all sentient beings? Same as yours. They're ripening that crap from the past and they're creating more crap for the future and they don't even know it. They have no idea. So the concern of sentient beings is to awaken. To awaken from that narcotic, graspy, dreamy sleep that's based on false assumption. That makes us just grab and make the situation worse. Instead, we understand that in order to answer the needs of oneself and all sentient beings, we have to create both temporary and ultimate happiness for ourselves and for all sentient beings. But this is the point. The reason why you're doing this practice, the reason why you're living your life as you are now, is because you want to be happy and you want to be able to offer happiness to others, both temporary and permanent happiness, ultimate happiness. So what is the difference? What is the difference? Well, of course, there's the traditional way of teaching the difference between temporary and ultimate happiness, but let's look at it kind of more in harmony with the way that we've been talking today. Dharma brings about temporary happiness because when we practice right thought, right intention, when we contemplate, when we are compassionate, when we give rise to the bodhicitta, when we give rise to virtue, and simply abandon the non-virtuous, ordinary, samsaric, clingy stuff, when we do that, it's like our mind stream, the experience of usness, or your experience of you-ness, which is actually ripening seeds at the surface of your mind, surface of the mind stream. that whole quality of the fabric of the mind stream begins to relax. It's like before it looked like boiling water, churned up, inflamed. You know, all this self-concern, all this non-virtue, all this gimme, gimme, gimme. Instead of that, we are creating temporary happiness because the mind relaxes. It simply relaxes. If you leave this room thinking, all right, I've had a pretty good day so far, that was sort of enjoyable. Let me see, I want to create now the rest of the day to be really enjoyable and feel good so that I can say, I have in my pocket a whole day of feel good. No. So I want a whole day of happiness. So you leave this room after all this wonderful information and you go out and what you do is you try to manipulate other people. You go to manipulate other people into treating you the way you want. You try to eat things that you want. You try to have things that you want. You try to make everything nice for you. Then there's not much use. There's not much point to that. Instead, we should be thinking differently, like rather than as we leave here thinking, what can I get to make me enjoy this day, the rest of it just so nicely, and what can I do to make myself feel good about the way I spent the day, and me, you know, all of that. Instead, if we meditate the way the Buddha has taught us to meditate and contemplate the way the Buddha has taught us to contemplate, we would leave here thinking, I understand something I didn't understand before. I have some power here. I have some choices. So rather than looking for ways to make good stuff come to you and good feelings come to you as though they came from outside, instead we think differently. We think, now I would like to have, and it's this intention that changes your life. Now I would like to have the opportunity to practice some generosity. I would like to have the opportunity to contemplate on the Buddha's teachings so that my understanding is cleared. I would like to have the opportunity, I'm going to have the intention of practicing in order to bring forward this virtuous karma that I have stored up, this treasury beneath the ground that I have stored up. And I also want to smooth out the mind stream. I'm going to practice this virtuous thinking. I'm going to contemplate on right thinking. I'm going to be kind and generous and make offerings and meditate and do all of these things because I want to calm the waters of my mind. And that's the proper way to think, and that's how Dharma actually creates even temporary happiness. Even temporary happiness. That's how amazing. We know that Dharma is geared towards creating ultimate happiness and freedom, liberation. But what we don't respect and don't understand is that Dharma is also very potent at creating temporary happiness by reducing the inflammation in our minds, pacifying this inflammation. So if right now we're thinking, I want to get up, I want to get out of here, I want to go play, I want to go to the movies, I want to go do this, I want to go do that. So, you know, if we're thinking like that, again, in our minds, we're thinking we're setting ourselves up for a fun evening. Because we think that means we're going to go to the movies. Yay! Or that means we're going to go out to dinner. Yay, whatever. So we think we're setting ourselves up for a good evening. But what we don't understand until we really contemplate what the Buddha has taught is that in fact, what we're doing is, while we're sitting there going, I want to go out. I want to get out of here. I want to go to dinner. I want to go dancing. I want. Instead of thinking that, we would choose not to think that, because that's the kind of thing that really irritates the mind. And when we do that, we just increase our suffering. It gets worse and worse and worse until we hardly can stay in our skin. And we reinforce our ability to choose, staying in that irritated mind state by saying, well, yeah, well, you know, some other people might be able to relax and be holy and stuff like that, but, you know, they haven't lived my life. They don't know what I've been through. You don't know what it's like to live in New York. So we try to support our ordinary thinking, and we think, well, then it's okay, it's all right, as long as I'm being a Dharma practitioner, and as long as as long as I'm being a Dharma practitioner, and I have my mala, and I have my book, and I go to the temple, then I'm being a Dharma practitioner, and that's good. That's what you're supposed to do. So I'm following the Buddha's teachings. No, you're collecting something. You're doing something. I don't know what you're doing. Because in order to really make any sense of this, we have to actually not make up our own religion. No, using the basic look and sound and feel of Dharma, but instead we have to actually listen to what the Buddha was saying. And the Buddha was saying that if you want to be happy, even tonight, you will start relaxing your mind now. So that by the time you leave the room, instead of going, I'm going to the movies, you leave the room understanding cause and effect relationships. Understanding that your ship does in fact have a rudder, and understanding that there is a greater perspective to look at, and simply in doing that, this is before we even do the actual practice, simply in doing that, simply in thinking that way, with that kind of intention to pay attention to the bigger picture, stops the pot from boiling now. Because you're not meditating on the mantra, I want. And you're not projecting yourself into some reality that you're not at yet, making you completely neurotic by saying, I want to go to the movies. You know, and you're sitting here and you're not here at all because you're at the movies. Well, not yet, but you know, you're in that limbo between. And the mind is so irritated, so inflamed, so unhappy, that when we leave here, we think nothing much in Dharma. We have not actually done what the Buddha has taught. You don't have to sound like a traditional Buddhist. You don't have to look like a traditional Buddhist. The only thing you have to do to maintain the lineage and the traditions is not change the Buddha's teachings to suit yourself. Otherwise, I wouldn't care if you dressed up in a clown suit with big shoes and everything. Wouldn't matter to me. Just more entertainment. So these are the ways that we have to think. And now, just to get a little bit more serious about this issue, again, the intention with the smaller samsaric view regarding, for instance, bodhicitta, would be to appear kind, to be good, so that we can collect kind and good. But if we preceded our intention to practice bodhicitta by actually adhering to what the Buddha said and really getting it about those karmic seeds and about how our whole life experience is simply the ripening of these seeds, if we really got that, then giving rise to the bodhicitta means a completely different thing. It's a whole different ball game. The one who understands these karmic cause and effect relationships and that we are living result now. The one who understands that is not going to be concerned with being good or bad, is not going to be concerned with following the rules, is not going to be concerned with acting like a kind person, because that practitioner knows it will not solve the problems that the Buddha says we have. It will solve the problems that you think you have, but it will not solve the problems that the Buddha says we have. And the Buddha says that we are wandering in samsara due to desire and cause and effect relationships we ourselves have created. This is why I contemplate deeply on the Buddha's teachings, to turn them over and over, like, you know, when you find a beautiful rock or a gem, we turn it over and over in our hands, and we want to see it from every angle, and what's the shape of it, what's the feel of it. We need to do that kind of thing with the Buddha's teaching, so that we get it, you know, we really get it, and get what the issues are, so that we can make intelligent choices. If our giving rise to the bodhicitta is preceded by understanding these contemplations that turn the mind, then we won't simply turn ourselves out as good little Buddhists. We will actually give rise to the awakening mind. We will receive the benefit of temporary happiness through calming the mind stream, and then we will receive the benefit eventually of ultimate happiness. And that ultimate happiness will occur when, as we give rise to more and more bodhicitta, and the mind becomes more self-aware, more luminous, more spacious, and then at some point we recognize the nature for what it is. We are in a state of natural wakefulness. We realize the stuff of samsara to be simply contrivance and delusion. And we prepare to abandon samsara and to achieve liberation for the sake of all sentient beings, so that they too can be guided out of it. And so there's whole different reasons there. And I have to tell you from my heart that if you were my children and I were your mother, I wouldn't tell you any difference. I'm not telling you this to hurt your feelings. But I'm telling you that most of you practice for those lesser reasons. And I'm not going to ask you if you know that. I'm not going to give you all certain ones meaningful looks here. I'm not going to do that. That's, you know, you're the one with the boat with the rudder. You should not be practicing the path for my approval or anybody else's. It's stupid. It's a waste of time. But to practice the path because you understand the stakes, you realize that the suffering is not only endless, it's unnecessary. And you realize that if you are one person suffering like this, how can you bear it? Just to look around and see how many others are revolving in samsara with no clue, no way of understanding the relationship between cause and effect, having not even one idea that they are increasing their own suffering incrementally. Not even a clue. Knowing this and having our eyes opened and realizing what the stakes are and how we are pointlessly suffering the results of ignorant choices. But at least we can make a choice now. If we choose. You know, some of us know that and don't choose. But if we choose, we can make choices now. But then, on opening our eyes in that way and realizing what other sentient beings have to work through, what they're up against, that any moment they could ripen the causes for unbearable suffering and not even know that they did that. Suddenly realizing how senseless that is. It's like something comes up in you and says, I cannot bear it. I cannot bear to see these who are, well, virtually innocent because they have no idea that they've done bad, made bad causes and are reaping bad results. They just don't know that. So these are virtually innocent babies that are just being tossed about with no way to get themselves straight and right and strong. And that becomes sickening. Now we are entrusted with the awareness that we can make choices. We are entrusted with the awareness that if we think, contemplate, meditate, pray, and so forth, the way the Buddha has taught us, using that information, relying on the Buddha's wisdom as to what we actually are, where we've come from and how we got here, and utilizing that in such a way that we can determine and we can see how this all came about. Because if you study on it, it's really not that hard to see. Then suddenly it becomes unbearable to us that this ignorance is so pervasive in the world. It's just, what a waste. What a terrible, terrible waste that we should all suffer simply because we don't know what else to do. And it becomes unbearable. And then we want to practice. We want to practice because we've lost our taste for samsara. We want to practice because we have become frustrated with and bored and annoyed and disgusted with not knowing any minute of any day what crap we have ripened from the past and brought forward to revisit us again. What result? You don't know what result you're going to suffer tomorrow from some cause that you created aeons ago. Never knowing when it's going to hit. Never knowing why it hits in the way it does. Knowing that sometimes it seems like our best efforts bring about the poorest results. But now we have the key. We can see what's really happening here. We can get the bigger picture. We have some choices. So this is why it's so important to practice what the Buddha has taught, to contemplate. It's important to care about your path, to care deeply enough to actually learn it, to actually get it. To be in the path only long enough to where You puff up your chest and you say, yes, I know this and that mantra and this and that practice, and I have accomplished my practice. And you walk around all fancy schmancy, you know? I mean, to get to that point on the path, is no point on the path. It's nothing. You've wasted your time. You should have gone to the movies. Less work. If you find yourself in that place at all, then whoosh, dump it. Dump everything you did so far, everything that got you to that point, and start all over again. But start righteously by learning what the Buddha has actually taught us. The contemplations, that which turns the mind, this right thinking, this deep understanding, this caring about the path enough to get the big picture and stop trying to negotiate ourselves through samsara by using ordinary means and manipulations and calling it dharma. You can't make samsara dharma. You can't do it, no matter how smart you are. You can't twist it around, you can't manipulate it, you can't control it. You can't do that. But you can awaken to Buddhahood. So it's important to think about these things as we approach the new millennium. Someone here left a note saying, "Dear Jetsunma, please tell us a little more about your predictions of the hard times that we'll be facing in the near future." I can't do that because I don't make predictions. I don't. Really, I don't. At least not that kind. So that's it. No. No, I actually don't make predictions. But I am telling you that the Buddha has predicted Kali Yuga, that there are many karmic ripenings that are coming to bear on us collectively. I don't want to say, you know, one country's going to sink and another one's going to raise. You know, I'll leave that for the other people. There are so many people out there doing them, I'm going to let them do them. They're probably real good at them. And I also feel like, I think it's kind of unethical, actually, to make predictions that crystallize the future before all the cards are in, before everything's in. I don't think that's a very good idea. But there is one thing that you can count on. You can count on what the Buddha has taught. The Buddha has taught that this is Kali Yuga, that it is thickening, becoming stronger and stronger and stronger, that very soon there will be a time when even the bodhisattvas will not be able to come to the earth because there will not be the merit for it, because there will not be right thinking. The Buddha has taught these things, and we are coming to a point in the change of the millennium where many people who have some wisdom and many people who have no wisdom are seeing and predicting very challenging times, very difficult times. And I don't disagree with them. I don't predict, but I don't disagree with them. So here's what doesn't change. You want to be ready. You want to be ready for tomorrow, and the day after, and next year, and 10 years from now. And the first and most obvious and most meaningful way to be ready for any time in the future is to practice exactly what I've said today. Clarity of thought, right thought, turning the mind towards Dharma, giving rise to a virtuous mind filled with the intention of bodhicitta, This serves to relax one's own mind stream, to avoid drawing onto ourselves karmic negativity. And if individually we are able to do that, that contributes to the collective reality. So in order, the first and foremost way to prepare for the next millennium is spiritually. To relax the mind, to meditate, to pray, to be as concerned with generosity as with self-preservation, to be as concerned with making offerings as to collect. If one outweighs the other, the result cannot be good. How can it? To meditate on what the Buddha has taught as to how it is that unfortunate ripenings come about, and to apply the appropriate antidotes, that's the kind of preparation that we need to pacify and, in a sense, hold back the darkness. Now, many people are set, they're talking about in the millennium, there are prophecies about land changes, prophecies about, what is it, the Y2K thing? You know, and there's all kinds of information about that that's going around. And I feel that as intelligent people, it is also wise to prepare for what looks like coming events. It's wise to prepare, but it's also keep the mind very zen. The more you can relax and keep the mind relaxed, and yet prepare spiritually and physically to preserve yourself and to provide for others, and to balance those activities so that they are equal. This is the way to go. Really, this is the way to go. And if you do practice any kind of preparation for whatever changes come in the future, you know, great, do it, but do it with right thought and right intention, with loving concern for the liberation and salvation of all sentient beings. And keep the mind in that spacious, non-grasping place by using right thought, so that the mind is not constantly inflamed, so that we can stay pretty zen about this modern world that we're about to enter into. We can stay pretty zen about it. We can think, well, you know, I'll make sure I've got some, you know, some money put aside. Maybe I'll have some land. Maybe I'll, you know, provide for the future. Maybe I'll do all these things. And I'll do that because slothfulness and complacency often produce a negative result. And I might have the opportunity to be of benefit to others if I myself am strong. However, I'm going to be innocent in the hopefulness that none of this will ever be needed. Be awake and be spacious in your mind, Zen-like, so that if you do all these things that are preparation and you've done them with the right intention, that was your path, kiddo. You practiced. You done good. And on that, if that joyful day comes when we figure out we've pacified all the negative stuff, well, then whatever it is you've collected and accumulate, you can offer to sentient beings. You can take that land and put a stupa on it and build a retreat center, or whatever you want to do. You can do all that amazing stuff. But I know that the Buddha has predicted this time. And many of the Buddha's preceding predictions have come true. different plagues and different things that the Buddha predicted. I know Kali Yuga is thickening. And I feel that this last 2 years before the change of the millennium should be viewed as a time of preparation, contemplation, and right activity, right thought, right view. That we should dedicate this to bringing a fruitful close to those things which we are now prepared to put aside, and to begin to take up that which plans for an auspicious and prosperous future on every level. So again, the way to prepare for this is spiritually and materially the same. You have to think of it the same. To make material preparation without spiritual preparation for 2000, you might as well shoot yourself in the head now. Because it's not going to work out that well for you. To make spiritual preparation and material preparation, this would be the way. Our duty, our obligation as practicing Buddhists is to create a lessening of suffering, of non-virtue, of desire, of hatred, of greed, of ignorance, and to offer the world more of a demonstration of what the Buddha offers. More peacefulness, more mindfulness, more prayerfulness, more kindness, more generosity. If these are the guidelines in whatever preparations we make for any future, we will be successful. Our most and greatest attentiveness must go to the spiritual qualities that we develop from this point forward. How we finish up the old time and how we engage in the new millennium. That is the most important preparation that we can make, whatever else we do. So I'll leave it at that then, and that's it.
So thank you very much for joining us today, and hope you enjoyed the teaching. To let you know some of the exciting things going on here, Guru Rinpoche is now on his throne. None of us can talk about anything else right now. It's pretty exciting. If you are in the area, please come and take a look. He has been consecrated and is on his throne just across the street inside the Peace Park. And oh my, you won't be sorry you came. So that being said, I'll stop waxing euphoric. We're hoping that he will help us do our best to help stave off the dark times she talked about. And meanwhile, we do have teachings that we can offer you, and hope you take part in them. We do show Jetsunma's teachings, as you know, Wednesday nights, because you're here now, Sundays at 11 a.m., both on YouTube. And then meditations we have on Saturday and Sunday mornings at 10. We have Medicine Buddha on Facebook Live every evening at 7 p.m. And that's just a short 15 minutes or 20 minutes in English. You can put in your requests for people that you care about. It's a place to share those thoughts and share that, let people support you in that need to help your friends and your family and yourself. So join us there. It's simple, and it's every evening at 7 on Facebook Live. That's KPC's Center for that. And I think that's in the, check if I should be in the chat. In addition, if you want to make an offering to Jetsunma on receiving a teaching, you can do so at her PayPal account, jetsumagift@gmail.com. She's currently making offerings like crazy to everyone who's in need. And so your offerings will get double whammies, by offering them to her and having her offer them away too, probably. Who knows? But it will be a lot of merit in there. And this month is the month of Sakadawa, so there's lots of merit in everything. That being said, I forgot to mention the soak offerings we do every day on Zoom. You can go on the calendar at tara.org. If you look under Meditate, Pray, Study, it will be right there. It's like one of the first. You'll see it'll say calendar in the submenu. So that'll give you the times, and that'll give you the where you can go on. It will give you the link to go in there, and it will give practice. So you can join us anytime you like, and we would be happy if you did. We are not quite yet open on the inside because of a surge in COVID in our area, and we are trying to keep everybody safe. And so the outside is magnificently open, and you are always welcome to come and visit. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Come again soon. And if you ever have questions, please email us at kpc@tara.org, and we would be so glad to help you. We hope to see you soon. Take care and be safe.